Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is Monday evening. That means it's time for another edition of Circle Track Chatter, presented this week by Dupuy Media Productions. Excuse me. Joined as always, my name is Craig Smolders. Joined as always by the legendary Rob Young. Good evening, Rob. How are you today?
Hey, Craig. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you as well. How was your week? How was your weekend? How's everything for you?
Everything is rolling right along. Just can't wait to get through January and into February. You know, at this time we always look forward to the Daytona 500 and qualifying and all that, and the ARCA race. And but this weekend we have the Chili Bowl, so we'll want to watch that. So lots of racing starting to get rolling here. So I'm excited about that.
Yes, absolutely. And local racing as well. I would imagine that you and the son-in-laws are out in the shop kind of getting things, starting to piece things together and get things going for the season. What do you think of that, Rob?
Well, I know Jake's pretty busy. He's trying to get his enclosed trailer all fixed up, and Ryan's got some stuff rolling too. And they don't spend too much time in my shop, but they're getting after it.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of local racing, we're going to be talking to one of our local drivers here, the driver of the number 21 Thunderstock at the local tracks here in Ontario at Buxton Speedway, and he's racing a few other places as well. But we're going to be talking to the driver of the number 21, Spencer Smolders. He's also kind of one, I guess you would call him a manager or promoter over at Route 1 Raceway. But we're going to get him on here. We're going to talk to him about all his racing stuff. But what's your opening remarks on Spencer Smolders, Rob?
Spencer is he's 23 years old. He's going to be 24. He's very technically minded. He pays a lot of attention to his chassis stuff. He knows his chassis stuff. Very well versed in it, especially go-karts. Got his first feature win in a Thunderstock this year in a car he built. So he's got a lot to talk about, and we're looking forward to hearing it.
Yeah, without wasting any more time, let's get Spencer Smolders in here and have a quick chat with him and see what's going on. Good evening, Spencer. How are you today?
Good. You, Craig?
Hey, doing Rob, awesome. Thanks a lot for taking this opportunity to join us on this Monday evening. Hopefully you're not too busy, and appreciate you taking a few minutes to join us. I know you said earlier you got the Chili Bowl going on there behind you, so hopefully we don't interrupt that too much. But how you doing,
interrupted.
How you doing, buddy? Everything good?
Yeah, everything's great. We're just trying to get through winter here. We've been doing a lot of indoor racing with the go-karts this winter. We got one more of them races to get through, and then we're full-fledged on getting the 2025 season rolling, whether it be at the Thunderstock or the go-kart track. So winters are tough around here, but we'll make it.
and of course you're working your daily job at the same time, so you're pretty busy over there, eh?
Yeah, we keep busy in the winter. That's about all we can do. We don't do any other things in wintertime. We don't go sledding. We don't go ice skating. We just kind of work and wait for summer to come back around. So
awesome. Rob, do you have any questions about for Spencer before we get going here?
Well, before we came on, Spencer and I were talking about his Thunderstock, and I didn't know that Spencer built that car from the clip on back, and you can see it over his shoulder there, and look at some of those welds on that thing. Man, he missed his calling. He should be building Thunderstocks.
Yeah, so last year, the end of 2023, I guess it was, I was running a dirt sportsman modified. It's a center steer with the crate motor in it, and I kind of went broke racing that because that's not really my fashion. But I'm like, let's move on, and I want to build my own car and see what I can do with it. I knew approximately what it needed, where the bars needed to go, and kind of just went at it there. I took a front clip off of an old car I had sitting out in the yard here for 5-6 years, and away we went. It took only about 4 months to build the car from nothing, and so we tweaked on it all year, and once we got towards the end, it started running real good. It's about all we could ask for. It was a pretty good first opening season for the first build.
Yeah, you did a job. You know what? You're very aggressive. I mean that in a nice way, not bumping into you, but you're very. You really get after. You get up on the wheel, and especially when you know that you built what came. It was nice to see the feature win this
You kind of broke up there, but I heard most of it. Basically, a lot of people ask me throughout the year, what happens if you roll out for this feature right now and you take it home in a basket? And I'm like, well, thankfully, I know the person who made this, and I know the person who can make it all over again. So there was a lot of stress gone with building all your own stuff, because you can go back into the shop that week and rebuild it. But when I got that first feature win, it was kind of a weight lifted off my shoulders. I've been close a lot this year. I think every time we ran at Buxton early on in the year, we finished second, or we didn't finish. So we had a good streak going at Buxton, and then all the other tracks up in Merrittville, Oswego Way, we were really good at Oswego, and ending the year on a lot of top fives there and top tens, and real good runs up there. And then we come back to Buxton, and we got the first win, and that was the weekend before the shootout. Then we rolled into the shootout with close to the same setup, but I tried a couple different things. We got another win on the Friday night there, and then the Saturday night, I was having some field delivery issues, but we somehow held on to a second place finish. So it was a great last ending to the year.
Good for you. All right, back to you, Craig.
All right. Well, before we get into 2024 and 2025, we kind of like to know how it all started for you, Spencer. So why don't you just kind of walk us through? Did you grow up in a racing family? Did you grow up watching races? How did all that kind of get started for you?
Yeah, so I did grow up in a racing family. My dad, he's raced forever, Dan Smolders. And then once me and my brother came around, he kind of hung it up for a couple of years. I think his last race in a big car was 2007 in one of Don Gordon's late models. And it was about 2010, 9 or something like that I got started in go-karting out in a track in Windsor called Fog. And then after that, it's just kind of been everything we've known. We look forward to going racing. We don't race weekly. We do kind of every other when we can. But that one that you see there, that was, I guess you could call it the first one. I had that when I was like 5 years old, and it was just something that we could putz around out in the yard with. Of course, it had big motor on it and no brakes, and the seat was falling apart, but we had a lot of fun with them.
That's awesome. Rob, do you have any questions about that?
Looks like it's got plastic wheels on it, for crying out loud.
Well, when you're a 5-year-old and you want to get exploring with the spray paint, you find whatever color Dad hasn't used in the shop, and you go to town on it.
Yeah, look at that. Good for you. You started at a real young age there, and that's good. Okay, back to you, Craig.
So obviously you got the checker flag there, so that must have been your first win. What was that experience like, getting your first win in a backyard?
Oh, it was an amazing experience. Remember it like it was yesterday. I have no idea. I barely remember, like, that young. I don't know, me, my brother, and my dad, we all had one, and they were all about the same speed, but we would just go mess around out in the yard and have fun. As you can see, I had a real safe helmet there. And that was my driving clothes. It had the number 21 already on it. So I guess, I don't know.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously at some point, I mean, you come of age and you can race competitively, and your dad's helping you in the shop, getting things together. Did you know that you wanted to really kind of go racing? I mean, you had Fog available. Was that really something that you wanted to do, or was it more of a trial and error? And as you kind of got started at it, you're like, yeah, I kind of like this. Let's do this thing.
No, I think it was kind of something that I always knew I wanted to do. We would always go down to Eldora Speedway, and ever since then, I kind of been born into racing. We go out to Buxton ever since I was a newborn, and et cetera, et cetera. So when I turned old enough, we got a go-kart, as you can see there, and we made our own body on it out of sheet aluminum and did our own decals, and we started there. So
were you competitive right off the hop coming out of the chute, or were you just kind of hanging around, figuring everything out and getting used to racing around people?
Don't think we were too bad. I don't want to say we were way off the pace. I mean, that go-kart there, it was actually my dad's kart that we ran out in the yard here, and we put a full body on it. So that was about as crude as you could get, but I think we made the best out of it. That kart only lasted a few weeks, and then we went out and upgraded, and then I think we started running a lot better. But yeah.
Rob, do you have any questions about any of that?
Well, in Spencer's whole family. It's not only his dad Dan and his brother Alex, but his mom Brenda's right in there involved. It's a whole family thing, and has been for as long as I can remember watching these guys. I went to Fog as well. I never raced a go-kart there, but I remember seeing all these that were getting started in racing, and thought, man, what a great thing this is. And a lot of the dads had been had sort of like retired or couldn't race stock cars anymore, and they were getting right into helping their kids racing. And it's cool to see guys like Spencer and Alex come along now, and are driving, kind of, yeah, they're still in the go-karts, but they're getting into full-size cars. And it's a whole family thing, and that's what it's all about. It's really neat to see that. Good for you. So back to you, Craig.
All right, so you run your rookie season. How was your rookie season anyway? Like you said, you said you were pretty good, but coming to the end of the season, did you rack up any wins?
I cannot remember. I remember very little from the beginning there. The first couple years at Fog, there was no real rules. There was a junior class and there was a senior class. You could run whatever you wanted for a go-kart, whatever you wanted for a motor. So I think at that point we were kind of just getting our feet wet. I don't even know if the races were actually scored or not. And we just kind of went from there.
Okay. But like you said, it was something you decided that you wanted to do. So you went back, went to the drawing board, went back in the shop during the off season and tried to put something together. And looks like you were ready to go there. What was that experience for you during your off season and, tweaking and learning all the technical stuff and getting it all figured out? What was that like for you, Spencer?
No, that was good. That was when we first upgraded to an actual offset oval card. It was a 2006 Infinity, and I had that for, I don't know, I want to say 6 years or something. But the off season with that was pretty good. I think we built a new motor and put it all together, actually got it scaled and started doing a lot better with it the next year. As you can see, there's a checkered flag, so must have been doing something right.
Definitely. Rob, do you have any questions about that?
I remember again, and Spencer, as I said, is very technically minded, and really knows a lot about his chassis and stuff. But back then, the karts weren't as advanced as they are today. But I was really impressed. You'd see all these guys, and they're changing gears, and they're making adjustments to tires, and that's sort of where I was first introduced to using tire prep on tires. And Spencer, you're a master at that. Did that all start back at Fog, or was that mostly at your track?
I wouldn't say I'm a master by no means. That's why we don't do much dirt karting anymore, because it takes a master at tire prep to be good on the dirt. But I know a little bit about it. I know the basics of what this chemical do to the tire and this chemical, et cetera, et cetera. And that kind of started about this year that you see in the picture there. That's when we started traveling to across the states, Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky, to race competitively over there. And that's when you kind of jump right into it, that you get your big eye-opening of what you need to win. And then so that was about when it started with the tire prep. I mean, we weren't getting too technical on them back then. I think we were just spraying WD-40 on the tires, and I think we were even wrapping them at that point to make it look like we knew what we were doing, but in reality, we had no damn idea.
Well, it's really that's go-kart racing is again, it's really come a long way, and we also from Fog there was 5150. Then now you guys have Route 1. Before I forget to ask, you always had track in your backyard? Like, it was a test track, or is this something that just happened after 5150?
So Route 1 started when COVID shut the border down, because that's when we were really heavy into going to the States and racing over there. So when COVID shut the border down, we had a shop full of go-karts, and we're like, well, this ain't going to come to an end anytime soon, so let's build a little test track. And we rented a little excavator, built a carving in the ground with the excavator and the backhoe, and then it wasn't near enough for what we wanted, so we rented a bigger backhoe, and this is a full-size Caterpillar backhoe. You had me, my dad, and my brother, and we went to town. We rented it from United Rentals. It showed up to our place. Alex looks at us and says, well, who's going to run this? And we looked at him and we said, you are until we're done work today, and then we'll take it over tonight. And that's what happened. We ended up getting a good track with some decent banking, and we're like, oh, this could be cool. And then there's a few people that got wind of it, and they're like, well, we want to come and race, and we want to come and try. And then we're kind of like, well, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it right. We're going to get insurance. We're going to run an actual racetrack. We're not just going to do it for fun. And I think it was the 2019 that Route 1 was officially born. I think August was our first race. And ever since then, it's been pretty good.
Well, you've come a long way. It's a first-class facility, and it's everybody talks about it. So anyway, back to you, Craig.
Well, yeah, and I don't mind touching on Route 1 a little bit because, I mean, the great thing about you guys is both you and Alex, and of course your dad, Dan, too, that you guys have all raced. So, I mean, and been in with the go-karts. So when people show up, any kind of a problem that they might have, any kind of, if they're trying to gain some sort of an unfair advantage or whatever, you guys are picking up on that. Like, you guys are all over it. You're running a tight ship over there. I mean, if somebody needs help, you're all over it. But if somebody screws up, you're all over that too. And you're running a real good operation over there. And I think it's absolutely amazing. Like I said, you guys grew up with the go-kart, so you know what exactly is going on there and what to expect. And I think you guys do an absolutely great job because, like I said, you're working your full-time jobs. You're still doing that. You're prepping track and prepping cars and getting everything going, and you're just running a heck of an operation over there. And I think it's worth noting for sure.
Thank you, Craig. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's real busy. Like, I think, well, me, my mom, and my dad, we all have our 9 to 5. Me and Dad fix boats. Mom does the tops and upholstery for it. And my brother is living up in Oshawa going to school right now. So we then on top of that, we have the racetrack, and then my racing program kind of falls in last at the end of the line there. So I make time for the race car when I can. But no, during the week when we have a race, it gets pretty hectic out here because in order to put an event on for a weekend, it's another 80 hours, 90 hours of just work around the facility, work on the track, work to get the canteen ready, and et cetera, et cetera. So it's a lot of work, but it's worth it in the end. We do enjoy putting it on. We enjoy watching the go-karts go around there. We enjoy everybody smiling when they go home and can't wait to come back in a couple weeks.
Yep, absolutely. And also want to mention it too, all the hard work that you guys are doing. Like if there's a chance of rain, if somebody's going to travel from a distance away 3 or 4 hours, you guys are going to do what you can, because I mean, I've been in the pits when it's just slop and you're ankle deep in mud, and you guys are out there and you're doing everything you can to get the show on. So if people want to travel, for sure, like, get on the road, because even if it's going to rain, you guys do what you can to get the show in.
Yeah, we've never ever been a fan of rain out. So when we built this place, we're going to do everything we can to not have a rain out. And I think in the 4 or 5 years that Route 1 Raceway has been around, we've only had like 3 or 4 actual rain outs. But the first couple years, we didn't have any drainage, and we still weren't going to let a rain out cancel us. So it downpour rain at 3:30 in the afternoon, and we get out there with water pumps and start dragging tires to dry up the water, and come 8 o'clock at night, we'd have go-karts on the track. So it was a lot of work to do stuff like that, but it made some good memories, I guess.
Yep, absolutely. Rob, do you have any other question about any of that?
Well, just because we'll come back to Route 1 in a minute, but I don't want to miss the opportunity to give Spencer and Dan's business, Performance Fiberglass, a shout in the day. They fix boats, mostly, like the fiberglass and whatnot. And so there's, I see that their sponsorship is on Greg Haskell's car. So if anybody's seen Performance Fiberglass, that's Spencer and Dan Smolders. So that's what they do. Just again, wanted to take the opportunity to do that. Spencer, we'll go back to Route 1. Why do you call it Route 1?
Well, because back in the day, our road that we live on used to be rural Route 1. And as you can see in the route on the Route 1 Raceway logo, it does have a little rural in the R. So okay. It's kind of just, that's what stuck. We didn't want to go too extreme and call it something that wasn't related to where it was. And we didn't want to call it like Fletcher Speedway or something like that. So Route 1 Raceway is kind of what stuck.
Yeah, and he mentions Fletcher's because there's a little town called Fletcher. Now, if anyone who's listening is familiar with or wants to know where Route 1 is, If you head east on the 401 from the Windsor area, or you're heading west from London, you'd want to get off at the Merlin Town Line there. Actually, you don't get off the Merlin Town Line. You got to get off at the Queens Line, right? Come back to Merlin Town Line. But it goes through Fletcher, and then I guess still called Route 1, the road that you're on?
No, it's a Finn Line now, but
Finn Line? Okay, so there you go. So anybody that's interested, it's as I said, it's a first-class facility. You want to get your kids involved in go-karts. It's a great place to get them started. And as I often say, that go-kart racers make the best stock car racers. So it's a breeding ground for young talent. And a lot of really good stock car racers have come from go-karts. So anyway, just wanted to give your track a little bit of a shout out and let people know what you do for a living.
If anybody
Back to you,
any
Craig.
information, don't hesitate to reach out during the off season. If you need info about the track or anything like that, we don't have a schedule finalized yet. We will have it finalized by our banquet, which is February 22nd. That's usually when we start releasing the rules and the pit parking, and then come around April, we'll be full tilt back into the season. So if anybody needs any information, don't be afraid to reach out to me or the track page at Route 1 Raceway.
And you'll still be running Friday nights, right? Except for the double headers or whatever.
Yeah. We're still our main races are gonna be Friday nights. We do have a few minor changes on the schedule this year. It's gonna be approximately the same as it has been for the last 3 years, but we have a few minor changes. Yeah, we run mostly Friday nights. It's 2 weekends a month we try to get in. And then I think throughout the year we have about 6 2-day shows. So we race on Friday night, and then we'll race a Saturday afternoon show too.
Yep.
All right. Sorry, go ahead, Rob.
So running on Friday nights, there's it doesn't conflict with our local dirt track at all. So those that are really interested in racing can take in a go-kart show on Friday night and then see the big cars on Saturday night. So and I'm sure that if they Google Route 1 or Spencer Smolders, they're going to find out where your track is and how to get to it.
Yep. It's all on our Facebook page there.
Perfect. Okay, back to you, Craig.
All right, so back to the racing and back to the go-kart racing. And I noticed on the first couple of slides that we had up there, number 21. What's significant about the number 21 to you, Spencer?
Number 21 is just what car my dad ran kind of his whole modified career. So that's what I started out with, and that's kind of what stuck.
Okay. So I guess we're kind of jumping ahead there. We're kind of getting into 2015. So you had some pretty solid years. You were kind of running different places, running Frog Raceway as well. Success-wise, were you pretty successful as far as bringing home some checkered flags and running pretty good? Were you running some races, and were you traveling at the same time?
Yeah, we once 2014 came around, we kind of stepped away from the local racing and we kind of focused on just traveling. We were successful for what we were dealt, more or less. We were kind of budget racers, but we went to all the big shows in Ohio, and we did do really exceptionally well for what we had. We go to these races with 2-3 sets of tires when the guy next to you would have 18 sets of tires. So not saying we had junk, but we just we made do with what we had, and we did pick up a few wins there. We won at Owasso Speedway in Michigan, and that was a big weekend to win there. And we won down at Little Eldora a couple times, State Line in Eden, Ohio a couple times, and then shortly after that is when we started getting into the concrete racing, and that's kind of when everything changed for us.
So as far as go-karting goes, Spencer, what would you say would be your fondest memory from your go-kart racing career? I mean, when you were kind of doing it regular, not like the winter spotty races you're doing now, but when you're running full-time, what would you say was your fondest memory or greatest win in go-karting?
When we'd travel over to the States, and we'd start off by saying, we're just going to make a little 2-hour trek to Sandusky, Ohio to race go-karts there. And we're an hour out and they cancel. So we say, okay, well, this track's got to be racing, and we'd start driving there. They cancel. And one of the weekends we were supposed to go to Sandusky on Friday and then Attica, Ohio on Saturday, which is only 2-3 hour drive. And we headed out there, and we ended up in Wheelersburg, Ohio, which is down on the Kentucky border. And then that was Saturday. And then Sunday we ended up at Little Eldora Speedway, and Rossburg, Ohio. So kind of just moments like that where we were determined to find a racetrack racing, and we weren't afraid to drive to get there.
And at some point, your brother Alex decides to join the ranks, and he wants to try the racing thing. So between the two of you, I would imagine that you guys have different ideas of how to set up a cart and get ready for a race. So you guys get arguing and fighting over what's the best way to run the racing program when you roll into a racetrack.
We used to, but in the recent years, when we just started switching over to just winter racing there, I kind of accept that he puts a little bit more thought into what he does. So when he tells me, hey, this is what works, it's kind of what I roll with at this point. I know a few of the standard stuff, which he runs it by me. Do you think this worked or whatever? And I'll tell him and confirm it. But it's a lot easier to work together when you have somebody that is going to school for engineering than to work against the engineer. So I've kind of smartened up like that.
Absolutely. Rob, do you have any question about any of that?
Well, actually, I was going to ask Spencer what Alex was what he was going to school for. So he answered that question, an engineer. But Alex also he also has a little bit of a graphics business, doesn't he? He does a lot of wraps for go-karts. So that's kind of something that's taken off from your go-kart stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, he does. He picked up a vinyl machine, I think 3 years ago, or a wrap machine that prints onto the vinyl material. And he started off with go-karts. He's gotten quite a few big cars out at Buxton. He kind of ships go-kart wraps and big car wraps all over the world, and he does some of the best work that I have seen. So it's kind of nice to have a good wrap guy in your corner.
Yeah, it's good to have. How much younger is than you, Spencer?
So he just turned 21 in November, so he's 2 years younger.
A couple years. Okay, well, that's just, again, good information to know. And back to you, Craig.
Yeah, right around 2018, I guess you kind of decided to jump into a micro sprint. They were racing them at Buxton Speedway, and I would imagine other places. What was that like for you? And was that a whole new animal to kind of get used to from the flat cart into the micro sprint now? And what was that like for you, Spencer?
It wasn't too bad. They mostly just raced them at Buxton on the go-kart track they used to have on the infield of the D, and they were looking to grow the car count in that class. And a guy had a micro sprint frame, so he says, "Here, I'll sponsor you guys a frame if you want to put it together, and just so we can get the car count up." So we got the frame picked up. We started putting it together. We didn't want to invest too much into it because we weren't really a fan of what they were, but we built it for what we knew. It was kind of a big go-kart with the wing on the top of it with the big snowmobile motor. And we started off racing on just old go-kart slicks, and then we found a set of asphalt groove tires on Facebook Marketplace. We picked them up, and then it was the beginning of 2018, I want to say it was, or 18 or 17. My dad wanted to get in and drive it, so I said, "Yeah, by all means, go drive it, have fun." And he says, "I bet you I'll get a win within the first 3 or 4 nights." And I says, "I'll tell you what, I'll give you 5 nights to get a feature win, and after that, I'm gonna get in, and I'll guarantee I win on the first night I get in it." So he ran 5 nights. He won a few heat races. He never got the feature win though, and I got in it on the 6th night of the year, and I went out for the heat race, won the heat race. We came in the pits, and my brother was there, and I says, "Alex, this is what the kart's doing. It doesn't want to turn off of the corner." And he says, this is when iRacing was real big, and he was heavy into that. He says, "Well, when I'm on iRacing and the car's doing that, we just move the wing ahead about 3 inches." So I'm like, okay, I don't know if it'll change it, but I don't know what else to do. So we moved the wing of the cart ahead 3 inches, and we went out in the feature and won the feature. So after that, I kind of hung up the micro sprint, as I wasn't really a fan of what they were. So it was fun though. It was fun while it lasted. We had a lot of good times with it. We go there on an open trailer, our old flatbed that's fallen apart. It was only 5 minutes down the road, so we only had a straight shot there. And we'd roll in on this open trailer and stay after the races, have a good time. Then a couple nights we went home, dropped off one of our crew members, and continued going down the road. And I turned the brake lights on. I'm driving home, turn the brake lights on. I look back in my mirror, and I'm like, "Oh no, Dad, the sprint's gone." He says, "What?" So we look, we stop, we pull over, the micro's off of the trailer. I'm like, I don't know where it fell off at. I didn't feel anything. So we turned around, we're looking down the road. There's a great big, like 20-foot ditch on one side and a little 4-foot ditch on the other. And I'm like, oh, there it is. And you could see the tire tracks in the road. It fell off the trailer, went right over to the big ditch, and then took a hard right-hand turn over into the little ditch. And we're like, okay, well, let's get it out of the ditch. We rolled it out of the ditch, rolled it up onto the trailer. Nothing was hurt until we rolled it onto the trailer. We ran over a nail on the trailer and got a flat tire on it. So that was kind of a good story of our micro sprint career.
Well, despite that micro sprint racing was pretty exciting. I can't remember exactly what it was, but you guys were racing at Buxton on a Saturday afternoon, and I come out to watch, and it was just crazy. I mean, you know, you were on the infield track, but you and Mitch Brusso were having a crazy battle. I was like, this stuff is wild. So, you know, I mean, you guys don't race them at Route 1, but if the fans do have a chance to go check my micro sprint race, for sure, like, it's pretty exciting stuff. So you definitely want to check it out.
They're cool. It's kind of like, I refer to them as big, ill-handling go-karts with way too much power than what you need. So that's it. They're wild to drive. You really got to be on it to drive. They start hopping, coming off the corner, and it's a whole different beast to drive. But yeah, they're pretty cool. I like to watch a lot of them race online at Red Bluff Outlaws and all that. So it just wasn't my cup of tea, I guess you could say.
Rob, do you have any questions about any of that?
No, I have to agree. I've never really been a fan of Mike. I like to watch him, but yeah, I just I think that I really like the world, but not really a big fan of the micro stuff. But anyway, back to you, Craig.
Yeah, we're just gonna take a quick second here to take a quick break to have a word from our sponsors, and when we come back, we're gonna talk about full car racing. We'll talk about some Thunderstock racing, some other stuff that you've done. We'll be back in a second with Spencer Smolders. All right, back with Spencer Smolders, and coming around 2020 or 2021, you decide that you want to do some Thunderstock racing, and you buy yourself a metric. What was that all like for you? That experience like for you, Spencer?
So come around the 2020 or whatever season it was there when I went out and bought that. That was right when we started Route 1 Raceway, and everybody thinks that we got a lot of laps turned at Route 1, but we probably have the least amount of laps turned at Route 1 Raceway as between all the people that come out here. So me and the water truck, that's turned the most laps I've ever had. But in the go-kart, we didn't get to turn much laps because we were still working there. But I kind of got the itch to go turn laps myself and start working on something of my own again. So found this on Marketplace, and I'm like, it's a start. It was nothing too fancy, and we picked it up on a Wednesday, and I wanted to go race at Merrittville Speedway on Saturday and Humberstone Speedway on Sunday. So we picked it up from Chase Smith, who sold it to us. Picked it up on Wednesday, and I borrowed a seat, I borrowed some tires, and I borrowed a trailer to go up to Merrittville and Humberstone on Friday and Saturday with it. As you can see, we didn't have no numbers or nothing. I got to the track. I had a can of white spray paint. And I drew my 21 on it. And I don't think we ran too bad. I mean, there was the COVID races, so there was a lot of cars up there. And Merrittville, we finished 13th, and Humberstone, we finished 12th. So after that, I was kind of like, okay, this is pretty cool, and wanted to pursue it. So after that, we spent the winter rebuilding that car. We put new interior in it, changed a few of the bars. I put a new motor in it. We rebuilt the transmission and rear end, new body, and that's what it ended up like. And it ran real well for a Monte Carlo.
Well, I mean, that's pretty respectable to buy a car and be able to go run that good, especially at a place like Merrittville and Humberstone, because there's not a whole lot of racing room out there. You know, if you're going to start at the back, you got to work your way through it. So that's pretty respectable to be able to work your way halfway up through the pack. So definitely congratulations. And what was that like? What was that like for you, Spencer? Like I said, I don't know if you started at the back or just kind of started in your starting position, but you still got a lot of cars out there. And as I said, not a lot of racing room. It's not a go-kart. It's a full body car. It's a whole different thing for you. What was it like for you figuring it all out?
No, it was pretty cool. Like we rolled out. I rolled out for hot laps. Thankfully, both places actually gave us hot laps. We rolled out for hot laps, kind of left a lot of room, got a feel for the car, and then rolled into the heat race. Well, the heat race, I'm not one to forfeit my starting position. I feel like I had enough car control to, understand when I needed to lift and give room and take room and all that stuff. So rolled where we were supposed to start in the heat race, and I don't remember how the heat races went. I don't remember where we finished in the heat race or where we started in the feature. But come the feature time, I just know that I ended up 12th and 13th. So it was a pretty good feeling for a weekend. I mean, we didn't know anything about the car. We had 3 days to put it together. I knew a little bit about setup on the frame here and there, but the shocks and springs, they were all new to me. And I don't even think I looked at the shocks or springs on it before we went up there. So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Rob, do you have any questions about any of that?
I remember watching. I didn't watch Spencer at Merrittville or Humberstone, but I remember when he ran that car at Buxton and how he liked the high line, and he really had that thing rolling there towards the end before he got into that Camaro. But yeah, it was pretty impressive. I could see where the go-kart experience was starting to apply to the big car there. It was interesting to watch here, Spencer.
Thank you, Rob.
All right, so between running the Thunderstock and running Route Run Raceway, you're keeping yourself busy, and you're still racing go-karts. And then, despite that, there's always that itching bug, and you want to do a little bit better. So at some point, you decide you're going to step up to a sportsman. What led to that decision, and how was all that for you?
Yeah, so what led to that was kind of in the fall of 2020, I want to say it was. I posted the Monte Carlo for sale because I wanted do a complete build. I wanted to build my own car, and it didn't sell in the fall, so we just redid it. We put a new body on it, and then in the springtime, somebody messaged me and said, "Hey, is this still for sale?" I says, "Well, yeah, but it's going to be more than what I was asking in the fall because I did a new body and new bars here and there and rebuilt the transmission again and stuff like that." And they said, "Okay, well, name your price." And I named my price, and he took it out of the shop. So that was April. He took it, and I wanted to start the season off early, so we went and picked up a sportsman up at Brockville Speedway. And I didn't know a whole lot about. I didn't know a damn thing about him. I didn't know anybody about him. I didn't know what tires they ran. I said, "Well, I want to try this. Let's see what it's all about." And went and picked it up. We went racing that whole year on it. We made upgrades to it as we went, but that racing there is a whole different ball game than anything that I've been around. I've been around late model racing, modified racing, street stock go-karts. That's a whole different ball game. It's every single thing on them cars has a number engraved on it, and it is a serial number for the part number to order it online. And you don't build anything on them cars because they all have to be dirt car approved. I call it catalog racing to an extreme. So I had a lot of fun. They're a blast to drive, but that catalog racing, that takes a toll on the pocketbook real fast.
And you mentioned that they're center steer because obviously, like the UMP modifieds and the late models, they're always like just regular street car. But this center steer, the Sportsman modifieds and the 358 modifieds are center steer. What was that like, kind of getting used to, or did it take a lot to kind of get used to, or was it manageable jumping in and just kind of being in the middle of a car when you're not really used to it?
Oh, it took a ton to get used to. It's like I know Kenny Schrader, he gets to drive one of Pete Bicknell's 358 modifieds every year he comes down, and he really struggles in it, but I know he's got the top of the line equipment coming from Bicknell, but they're crazy to try to learn because you're going into the corner, you're like, wow, I'm going to slam that wall because I'm 3 feet into the center of this car and that wall looks like it's real close. And then you turn and look at the wall and you're like, oh, I'm still 4 feet away from the wall. So it's a whole different ball game being in the center of the car. It's cool that you can see both of your front tires, but other than that, it was like nothing that I've ever drove before.
Awesome. Rob, do you have any questions about that?
Well, I used to like to watch them on TV when they ran at Syracuse and stuff like that. But they really never took off around here. And again, if you go farther east, and in Quebec and across the border in New York, and that they're really popular down there. But wasn't, again, something I was really interested in. Again, fun to watch. Yeah, I mean, Spencer has gone out and tried something, and hand it to him for that, and did it for a whole year. We're glad that he's back here racing his Thunderstock. So I think the next step up from that is either into a modified or a late model. I think he's a good driver no matter what he drives, but I think that was a good experience for him. But we'll see you back in a Thunderstock next year there, Spencer.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. Like, it was really cool because I've always been like a traveling racer. I want to travel to these different tracks. And when we bought that, I'm like, we're going to check out some of these New York tracks and all that. So the second year that I was in it, which was a picture of the blue, orange, white, and black car there, we set a week aside in the middle of summer, and we ran 8 days in a 10-day stretch over from New York. And I didn't hit any Pennsylvania tracks, but all around New York, we went to 8 different tracks, and we followed the Super Dirt Car Series and ran at all the tracks they did, and that was really cool to do. And them cars are really cool, the Super Dirt Car Series. But no, I had a lot of fun with it, and I don't regret going to it at all. I didn't have the greatest run, but I was kind of doing it all on my own. We didn't know a damn thing about you could call it a form of 2-link, 3-link, whatever you want to call it, but there's some kind of biscuit and a slider in the middle of it, and the drive shaft in them is only 7 inches long, and it was all new setup to us. So we were all trying to learn it on the go, and we would roll up to the track, and it's crazy. We'd roll up to the track. Guy beside us would have 2 spring smashers, a shock dyno in his trailer, and then about 40 tires, because every tire on the car is a different size. So if you want a spare right rear, you need a spare right rear. You can't make a right front work on the right rear, etc. But no, it was a really cool experience, and I learned a lot from it. A lot about the chassis fabrication, and a lot of the setup stuff too does transfer over.
Oh, that's good. I see that bottom picture there. You got the motorhome and an open trailer, and man, that's the way to go racing. Open trailer, motorhome, and way you go, eh?
Yeah, we have a blast in that motorhome. Anytime we go up to Oswego or Merrittville, and we always hook on to we got an enclosed trailer now, which I said I'd never go to enclosed trailer because they ruin local racing, in my opinion. But I had the chance to go to one last year, and I will never go back. It is so nice. But we hook onto the enclosed trailer with that motorhome, and we'll head up to Oswego and Merrittville, and that it's awesome. It's the only way to go racing, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's good. All right, back to you, Craig.
All right, 2024 season, you decide that you want to change it up again, go back to a Thunderstock, do some Thunderstock racing, try a Camaro out this time. You race a little bit closer to home. You have an opportunity to do some racing locally, as well as traveling a little bit with Merrittville and Ohsweken and Humberstone. What was your 2024 season like for you, Spencer? I mean, I got to tell you, obviously, I was at Buxton Speedway each and every Saturday night, and some of the battles that you were having with some of the drivers up front, like Steve Shaw, who your dad would have raced against, and then you're up there battling with it. And obviously, we share the same last name, and seeing a Smolders coming across a checker finish line or the start finish line, and down there in Victory Lane was really, really cool to be able to see that again. Why don't you walk us through your 2024 season?
Yeah, at the end of the modified, when I had that, I was like, okay, I'm kind of getting thin on the pocketbook, and I've always wanted to build my own car. So I said, let's start on it. Started in the fall of 2023, and got the clip cut off of an old car I had sitting out in the yard here, and started building the frame of it. It took about 4 months to build the frame, and then you have all the extra stuff on top of that. But I built it from nothing, and we do all the body and transmission, everything ourselves. We set it up. I've had a few people I run ideas by, and that's great. But for the most part, it's all us. And then we took it out in the 2024 season. And the first few weeks, your main goal when you build a car from nothing is just finish the race without any mechanical failures and all that. And we went up to Merrittville for the first race in early April. And we finished the race. The car had some hiccups. It wasn't turning like I wanted it to turn. I couldn't get it to sit on the right front like I needed it to. And so it gave me something to work with. We were still in the mix. I think we finished like 10th or something like that. So we were still in the mix, but I just needed to work on a little bit more and figure out the setup a little bit more. So we went back to work in the shop, took a couple weeks off, went back up to Merrittville, and we started running a lot better with it. Towards the end of the year, we really figured it out. I messed with the scales a lot on the springs, and I got it to how I like a car to turn and drive. And we ran real good at the end of the year up at Merrittville and Ohsweken. We finished in the top 5 a lot of the times up at Ohsweken, and for the big Ohsweken Nationals on the Thursday there, we started at the back because we struggled in the hooked up track in the heat race, and finished, I think, 5th in the heat race or something like that. Had to go through B main, won the B main, started at the tail of the feature, and we drove up to 6th or 7th, I want to say. So that was kind of the highlight of that weekend. We have a few top 5s at Ohsweken, and then we went to Buxton. I think every time we've been to Buxton this year, we finished 2nd, 1st, or DNF, and we went back to Buxton after the Nationals there, finished 2nd. Weekend after that was the week prior to the shootout. We won that. That was the first race. It was a relief that we got it this year and not didn't have to wait all year again. But after that, I felt I got the confidence that, okay, I know what the car needs now. We went back to work in the shop to get a little bit better. Went back the following week was the shootout, and we won the Friday night, and I felt pretty confident going into Saturday. Saturday rolls around, we had a fuel issue, and I struggled to just get the speed that I needed. The motor wasn't reacting how I wanted it to, and couldn't quite clench the win like I was planning on. But we still ended up 2nd, so there was nothing wrong with the end of the season, and I was grateful for how it ended and how it could have ended.
Absolutely. Rob, do you have any questions or comments about any of that?
Well, Spencer, you can pat yourself on the back because to go and build a car on your own right from scratch, as you say, everything. I mean, it's to build a car. It's not just you got switches and brake lines, and there's so many things that take so much time to do. And Spencer's done that, goes out and he wins with it. But if you look at that division, at the Thunderstock division at our track, not talking about some of the other ones because these are just local names I'm going to tell you about. But if you look at Spencer himself, who's a very accomplished race car driver, you got guys like Nick Cameron, Calvin Fox, Jake Hooker, Jaden Miller, Paige and Seth Lanou. Like these drivers have not only they have a lot of people behind them. And Spencer goes out there and with a car he built himself and wins a feature. So there's a lot to be said about that. Keep going. I suggested maybe the modified division or late model division. I'm sure Craig's going to ask you this shortly. What are your aspirations as far as racing is concerned? But I think that for a guy your age, man, you've really put let everybody know you're there, buddy. You're doing a good job.
Thanks, Rob. We appreciate that. Yeah, so that was the first build that I done from the ground up. I'm going to do a couple more frames this year after we get through with the go-kart stuff. And I don't know what I'll do with them. I'm probably going to end up raffling one off. And then I don't know what I'm going to do with the second one. But there's a few things I want to change on them on the next one I do. So I want to do another one for sure. And it's a lot of fun. It's fun building it yourself and then sitting in victory lane and thinking, I did that. That was done by us in-house, not bought off the catalog or nothing like that. So it's a huge relief doing it that way, and it feels really good when you win.
Yeah, and it really is a neat division because and I wasn't a big fan of it at the time because it kind of got rid of the sports stock stuff, but you know, and I'll hand it to Steve Shaw, who's the godfather of the Thunderstock division. He pushed it, got everybody on board, and here, and lo and behold, you know, 5 tracks that run under the same rule package, but just run a 602 crate engine, automatic transmission, and I think you guys run a 620 final as far as your gear ratio is concerned. So whatever you do to mix it up to find that ratio, it just simplifies things a little bit. And now you've taken it and you've built your own chassis around that. And I think it's even though again I wasn't a big fan of it, I think it's a great division, great place for people to step up from go-karts into the Thunderstock division, and and man, are they fun to watch. You guys put on a whale of a show, so my hats off to you.
It's one of my favorite classes to watch, even when we're not racing, because it's kind of like, you know what, it's affordable. It's got the old car parts on it. It's got the old Power Glider, Turbo 350 transmissions, the stock rear ends. That stuff's all kind of relatively affordable. It's all out there too, and I just hope the class stays close to what it is. There are a few changes that I would like to see, but I hope it stays close to what it is for 10 more years, because it's booming right now, and I think if we keep it close to what it is, it can continue to boom.
Yep, and then also, I don't know if we forget to mention this. I know we touched on it, but if anybody needs any Camaro hoods, Spencer's your guy. He can get them for you. So he tells me they're a lot lighter and cool too. So get a hold of Spencer for a hood.
Yeah, we build fiberglass Camaro hoods, and we designed it and built it, made a mold out of it. So we build fiberglass Camaro hoods. I do a little bit of fabrication and sheet metal work on race cars on the side. So if anybody's looking for a body this off season, or looking for any fabrication done on their car, don't be afraid to hesitate to reach out, and we'll get you fixed up here.
All right, so congratulations on all your success in the 2024 season. And when most people are putting the cars in the shop and getting ready for teardown, you're actually you're putting the car at the back of the shop because you got a go-kart you got to get ready. Why don't you tell us a little bit how your winter racing is going this year for
yeah. We don't put the go-kart or the car in the back of the shop. We kind of strip it all down and start going over it and I made the updates I wanted to make on it early on in the fall here after, and we start putting it back together now. Next is going to be put the new body on it and all of that stuff. But we start our indoor racing. We travel this year. We had 5 races on the schedule. We only have 1 left. We had Syracuse, New York, Fort Wayne, Indiana, Allentown, Pennsylvania, and then at the end of the month here we have Atlantic City, New Jersey with the go-karts. So that's a whole different ball game of go-kart racing. It really takes a lot of effort out of the driver. You got to be pretty committed, go to the gym, you got to be watching your weight, diet. It's extreme. Like you learn a ton about chassis, and that's what's really helped me with the big car program, is learning about the chassis on the go-karts and what 2 degree of camber here does, and what caster and stagger and stuff like that does. So I go-kart racing to learn about how the frame reacts and all that, because I've said it forever and I'll continue to say it. I'm not the best driver. I will never be the best driver, but I like to go out and see and feel what my change did.
Absolutely. Rob, do you have any questions about any of that?
Well, I think I'm just, because this picture happens to be up here, that black cart that's in the picture there, that's a caged cart. And so I asked Spencer a little bit about them. He says the wheelbase is a couple inches longer, and it looks like there's you got quite a bit more weight as far as that, and a lot of rigidity in the chassis. And so I'll let Spencer tell you a little bit about that, how much different that is from a regular go-kart.
Yeah, so that's a cage go-kart. It's basically a go-kart with a 2-inch longer wheelbase and a cage welded in 4 points on the chassis. It's got open wheels on the front, so there ain't quite as much beating and banging, and it takes a lot more finessing to get by somebody. But they're a whole different ball game than your flat kart. Your flat kart is kind of whatever you're dealt, you're along for the ride on it. The cage kart, it's kind of, people say it's slow motion. You have time to figure out your pass. You have time to think about what the go-kart's doing. There is still a point where you do have to just ride out what you're given, but it's a lot more tuning on the frame than the tires, because and the cage go-kart, if you weld 4-point cage on it on a go-kart, it kind of eliminates all of the chassis dynamics and what they've done, and the CNC chassis dynos and all that. It eliminates a lot of that, and brings back your standard who can set it up the best and who can wheel the thing.
Yeah, and also, while I was looking at that, and before I got a chance to talk to you, I noticed you were running Hoosier tires on it at that would have been at the Rumble in Fort Wayne. And I got thinking, well, you know what? That's a racing tire, but you still prep those tires as you would a regular dirt tire as well. Is that right?
Yeah, so Syracuse, New York, that's what that picture there is from. It was on an open tire rule, so we were allowed to run any type of tire we wanted. And I like Vega tires, so that's what I was running there. Then we went to the Rumble in Fort Wayne, which was Burris only, so we had Burris on there. And then we went to Allentown, Pennsylvania, which is Hoosiers, and Atlantic City at the end of the month is Hoosiers. We are still all prepping them generally the same. They're all round and rubber, and indoors is really nice because there's only really one prep that works. And once you figure out that one prep, you kind of stay on it. You don't wander away from it too much, and you stick to your program. But yeah, we're still prepping them like you would prep a dirt tire. There's still tire prep involved, but it's not as, oh, I'm off because I got the wrong chemical in the tire. No, everybody's kind of on the same chemical.
Yeah, and this is on concrete. Dirt's a heck of a lot different, but it's pretty cool that to see all the different combinations and stuff that you could do out there. But anyway, back to you, Craig.
Well, I mean, at this point, we're kind of all caught up, or we've caught up to 2024 season. It's I'm actually kind of wore out. I mean, it's unbelievable. You're not a very old guy, and you've done all kinds of racing, and we've had a great chance to talk about some stories. But we got to talk about the future a little bit. 2025, are you going to be back in the Camaro at Buxton Speedway and doing some travel locally, or what's it looking like for you, Spencer?
Yeah, so in the 2025 season, the goal is just to race when I want and where I want. I've never been the one to commit to anything. I kind of want to commit to the duel and the dirt stuff this year and try to run that full series, because that's a lot of fun doing that kind of stuff. You go to Merrittville. I think Buxton gets a couple shows. You go to Merrittville. Humberstone's shut down, unfortunately, so we won't be there. But you go to Merrittville, Brighton, and Oswego, I guess it is right now. And that's a fun series. I want to kind of focus on that. And but yeah, I'm sure I'll be out at Buxton a few times throughout the year. That place it's a lot of fun because it's so close to home. The payout is really good there. It's one of the best paying tracks in Ontario. But it's nice to go race in front of the home crowd, and it's nice that you're only 5-10 minutes away from the shop too. But yeah, we're gonna redo the Thunderstock. We're gonna put a new body on it, and you'll see me at some of the tracks in Ontario. I don't know where I'll be when I'll be there, but I'll be at them all at some point.
Absolutely. And one of the questions I always like to ask our guests: if money was no object, time was no object, you could go anywhere, do anything. Where would we find you? What track? What race? What kind of car? What is it for you, Spencer?
If money was no object and I had like unlimited funds, I'd go super late or dirt late model racing and race at Eldora for the World 100. And then I another bucket list one is, a lot of people think it's crazy, but the Dome. If money was no object and you could do it right, full size, like Davenport does and all that would be my dream.
Okay. And sticking around a little closer to home, living in a reality, what's the future looking like for you? Are we going to see a modified, a late model? Are you going to stick around the Thunderstocks for a while? What's the plan for you?
I'm pretty happy with where I'm at right now. I like that I can build everything on these cars myself in shop here. So I like where I'm at with the Thunderstock stuff. I don't see myself going from there for a few years. Unless stuff starts to go down in pricing, then I'll think about going to something different. But right now I'm pretty happy where I'm at. It's affordable. It's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Well, whether it's Eldora or it's Buxton Speedway, it takes a ton to get these cars on to and on the track. Do you got some sponsors you want to thank, Spencer?
Yeah, it's kind of a small team of sponsors here. It's all really us. We got Route 1 Raceway, of course, Performance Fiberglass Marine, and my brother at Smolders Speed Concepts, he does all my wraps and stickers and all that, and helps me out at the track. Of course, I'll thank my crew. You got them again, my mom, my dad, my girlfriend comes to the races when she can. Alex comes to the races when he can, and 21 Chassis. That's the chassis that I built here.
Okay, and I have no more questions for you. Rob, do you have any other questions for our guest, Spencer Smolders, before we let him off the hook here?
No, I think that's a pretty good plan for 25. Your plate's pretty full. Stick to that Thunderstock and all your go-kart stuff. And again, he's got a first-class facility at Route 1. So anybody's interested, look up the Smolders family and their track, and go out there and watch some go-kart racing. So good for you, Spencer. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, Rob.
Yeah, absolutely, and I really appreciate you joining us tonight, Spencer. You got a lot of good stories. It was great to catch up with you. Yeah, thank you for taking your time out of the chili bowl that you're watching, and building cars and getting go-karts ready. And we appreciate you jumping on here for us and giving us your story. It's been a lot of fun spending some time with you here tonight.
No problem. Thanks for everything that you guys do. I love going to the track and then being able to go home and watch the race and see what the car was doing from the grandstand aspect of it. So thanks to you guys for having me and putting this all together and doing all the video and stuff you guys do.
Absolutely, and we wish you the best of luck in 2025 and beyond. Spencer, thanks again for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
Yep. Good night, Spencer.
Have a good night, Rob.
Yep.
Well, there you go, Rob Young. We know a little bit more about Spencer Smolders. What did you think of all that?
Well, I've watched Spencer race, and he's come a long way, as has a lot of our young drivers in the area. But at 24 years old, or 23 years old, going to be 24, as I say, his plate's pretty full, and if he just fine tunes that a little bit, you'll see a few more feature wins for him. And I don't think Jake's running a Thunderstock this year, so there's a whole lot of features that could be won by some of these other younger guys. So we'll see how that all goes. The other thing is, I think we've got there's a banquet coming up for Buxton here shortly.
Yep.
In Berlin. And I think for those out there who are kind of sitting on the fence, you need to support this family that's trying to keep this track rolling here. So go buy some tickets and go to the banquet and show up for the endurance race in February as well. So we've got some, not only, I mean, Route 1's a great little track, and so is Buxton. So we just need our local people to support it, and it's going to be a great thing.
Yep, absolutely. I highly recommend that fans go to Buxton Speedway on Saturday nights. And, as far as parents or anybody, if anybody's apprehensive about getting their kids involved in go-karting, reach out to Spencer, reach out to somebody in his family, the Smolders family over there. They'll guide you through it. They got, I mean, it's like anything. Like, you can be hurt, of course. You can be hurt in anything, right? You can be hurt in baseball. You can be hurt in racing. So, I mean, but as far as that goes, the helmets, and they have all the safety gear. But if you're apprehensive about it, go check out Route 1 Raceway. Talk to Spencer, talk to Alex, talk to Dan. They got all the knowledge. They'll help you out, and go out and check out the go-karts, because, yeah, it's exciting races. I mean, they're a couple of inches off the ground and they're nose to tail, and it's just wild. So yeah, Route 1 Raceway. If you're interested, definitely go check it out. What do you think of all that, Rob?
I think it's all great. It's all great, and before we know it, we're going to be back racing again. So here we are, almost the middle of January. We're looking forward to, as we always do in February, the Daytona 500, and then the next thing you know, we're racing.
Absolutely. The weather's going to get warm. The cars are going to be ready and shiny and all nice, beautiful paint schemes on them. And we'll be out at the track, and then they'll get all muddy and beat up and gross, but they'll be good for one night, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I got nothing else. I mean, this has been a really good show. Thanks again to Spencer Smolders for joining us this evening. We will talk to you guys once again. Thanks as always to the legendary Rob Young for being my co-host on here. Thanks to Angela Young-Bonner back in the production studio, getting all this stuff together and making sure that it works. It's been a great show. Thanks again, once again, to Spencer Smolders, and we hope everybody is safe out there. We hope you guys enjoy the off season, and we will talk to you at a track sometime soon. Thank you very much, and have a great night.
Take care, Craig. Good night.
Good night, everybody. Sir.